Hi there and welcome to this week's edition of Bulls versus Bears. Gentlemen, it's been a very, very busy period for us. But, markets-wise, short of the four horsemen of the apocalypse turning up, nothing can stop this tech rally, right?
No, can't. And let's start it off with the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, obviously, this is, general advice warning, opinions and thoughts only. Don't make any, don't make any decisions without consulting a financial professional. Past performance is not an indicator of future performance. I think you've all heard it before, but there we go. You can read it on the screen.
Thank you, compliance officer.
Yep. Yes.
Just saving some editing at the end.
That's exactly right.
That's more important.
So, MPC in the media, we've been busy, like really busy this week in
Absolutely.
media. So, but two debuts. We the Bull on thebull.com.au and. So shout out to those guys who found us, and we gave two buyers, two holds, two sell recommendations. Mm-hmm. So you can catch that on their website, thebull.com.au. I think it comes out today or something like that. Jonathan Golden Boy over here will be on there in the next couple of weeks as well.
Yep.
So it'd be good to be contributing to. It's been around for nearly 15, 20 years. So
has it? Okay.
It gets a fair bit of traffic, but it's Anthony, the journalist there, is, he goes, none of the bullshit, basically. So we, pretty simple answers, which suits us fine. So, and also I chucked on my my Donald Trump "Make America Great Again" or my Liberal Party hat and went on Sky News this week. So. So we've made it regional, boys. We went out to all the regional areas, and then and I think Sky News on 601 on Foxtel. So, but anyway, this is we have my beautiful face there. But look, basically, as we were talking about, nothing can we literally had Helene, which was massively devastating.
Yep.
Into Milton, which hit landfall like midday yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 200 billion, 180 to 200 billion US dollars worth of damage. There's spike in jobless claims. The Fed's cut 50. But then inflation data comes in hot. China has its worst day in pretty much either forever or in multiple decades. Yeah. It was down like nearly 10%. And what else happened? Bond yield spiked nearly 25 basis points.
Yeah, that's the big one. But as you said though, so I've been obviously watched the markets intraday here. And one thing I've just noticed that any dips have been extremely shallow. And I was just like, if they can't sell it off, it's just going to start rising.
Sure.
And especially last night, if a higher inflation print can't knock that market down, I was like, mate, there's money on the sidelines.
Core inflation was up too. And Bostic basically said that he reckons November's off the table. So someone's cracked. That was a ballsy thing doing 50.
Yeah,
but then, and I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna stick to that. Bostic was the biggest wuss basically, and he's like, no, we might have to wind that back. But the guy and tech just marched on. This is a market that, if you had all of those things happen in a normal week in the last 30 years that I've been in markets, we're down 5% minimum for the week. Yeah. I reckon. And we're up, I think. So, can't beat them, join them, I suppose. But that's
obviously... Or at least don't try and, short it. That's the thing.
Well,
I'm not saying, get long here, but just get out of the way.
Our little tech bull up there is just oblivious to all the chaos behind him. So, for those of you just listening, have a look at the weekend and you'll see what we mean with that image. So, but stock highlights, gents. Kai, what are we loving this week?
Yeah, I think Drone Shield's obviously one that we'll probably talk a bit more about in the trade of the week as well. It's one of our old little favourites. It had a massive rally earlier on this year.
Yeah.
But obviously with the cap raise that they put the price out, it put a little bit of a damper on the momentum.
Yeah.
But it's had enough time to basically kind of work that volume through. It's stabilised, but it looks like it's picking momentum back up again.
Technically it looks good. You've got a $13 million contract with the US government.
So how much did they raise and how big was that contract?
No, the contract was 13 mil.
13 mil, so not huge.
I believe they raised about 120 mil.
Okay, so that's big.
Yeah, so a decent amount. But yeah, they're well cashed up now.
But they're getting consistent contracts from the US government. Like 13 mil would be, I think the general's assistant can approve 13 mil in the military, right? Like, that's petty cash.
I think the big thing is apparently they've got $1.1 billion of pipeline ready to go.
Oh, yeah. So they're
I don't know pipeline,
but like seriously, I mean, drones have been used massively in. Like that's the only thing that slipped through that very expensive Israeli Iron Dome or whatever. So, this stuff's going to be like, 13 million is like I said, it's pocket change.
It's the future, right? Like you think about it. Like how much does a tank cost? Like 100, I don't know, like 80 million or something. You get a drone that's like $80,000 in blow. Blow a tank up.
Yeah. Interestingly, they still make tanks, but they actually have no strategy to use them anymore. They don't. But they still have them. Yeah. And they still keep replacing them in the US. I don't know.
Oh, do they?
So,
So they've actually got new stock.
They've got new stock, but there is
there's no actual battlefield to bring on.
But there's no the military no longer has a strategy to use tanks at all.
Okay.
But they still keep refilling the stock. So Halliburton.
That's the military industrial complex. Like that's.
So Halliburton's killing it there, I would say, or someone like along those lines. Someone's got a senator in their pocket, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But that's how US politics works. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the two morons we've got going for government. So
exactly. And for me, Guzman. So they came out with results. Market reaction was kind of subdued, but basically all the analysts still think it's very, very expensive. And that was actually one of the sells that we recommended on the board there.
So this thing's up 100%.
Yeah, and don't forget there's a lot of stock coming out of escrow as well, so it'll be just hard to see it push higher from here.
Yeah, it floated at 20. It's at $38.
Yeah.
And they said,
no, but you couldn't have got any at 20. Like basically you were scouting.
No, it opened at 30.
Yeah.
Because we got it for stock of the day. And it literally opened as we went on air. It was like, thanks for doing that, guys. Like, how do we make a decision on this? But it is ridiculous because at $30, that was beyond their highest expectations.
Yes.
And we're at nearly at 40 now.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I didn't move the needle. But I obviously went out on a limb because I just love getting Twitter abuse so much and said WiseTech was a sell. WiseTech is a great company, but it has a history of getting overpriced. Since 2018, 4 occasions it's dropped on average 47% in a pullback. And also, Richard White, who's like the beloved, he's the founder god of all the market darling gods.
Is the Australian Steve Jobs, is he?
Is in a pretty horrible little situation where he is allegedly, the compliance officer, requested sex for funding of projects and all this sort of thing. But if he gets ousted, like what happens when your god's gone? Like so I like and 170 PE as well. So like that.
And I saw that he actually sold some shares as well. Like I didn't see the actual amount. It was like a little just a throwaway, but there's direct to selling as well.
Well, if I hated it before, but that I don't think people understand. Like when something's at 100, and every single time it had that big pullback, it got to around about 170 PE every single time. Like, you can't pull in fresh money here. It's the perfect situation when you take some off. But where I don't think people are seeing the risk is if the board may have to remove him because funds have ESG filters. And if he gets he may get struck off, like WiseTech may get struck off fundy lids. They'll probably find a workaround. But there is that. I mean, but what if that happens? Some of these funds that have had this stock for like a decade, even if they just didn't trim, they're sitting on massive amounts. So I just think there's a lot of risk there. And to be honest, I'll be on the bid 46.5% lower because I would love to own the stock. and I don't think he's going to move the needle long term anymore anyway. Like, it's great to be found a lead, but it's
the thing is with these stocks that had a good run off. So when all you need is a few good technical indicators, and it is fairly not easy to know. So just have a moving average or one of your super algo systems, and if something turns or there's some volatility, that'll be the time to get out.
What let's circle back to that. Yeah. What's the name of that algo that we've got? That screener? Is it the super trend
adaptive algo?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So which
it's adaptive.
It's adaptive learning. No, but it works. Don't get me wrong. I just love the name we've given it. That's all.
No, that's the actual name of it.
Yeah.
So someone created these. These are public sort of indicators, and then obviously we tweak them. And
it's more about how you use the indicators as opposed to the indicator itself, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to come up with theories in terms of there's so many indicators for different purposes, and basically this one is really good for momentum. When it switches,
that's why it's super.
Yeah, exactly, and adaptive as well,
and momentum. It just reminds me of that Family Guy episode with the super American Yankee laundromat. This is very anyway, we'll move on from that. Look, US stock news. I mean, realistically, we've largely covered it.
Nvidia's back on the near highs again.
So unknown news. So that's just a lazy I don't know, $300 billion or whatever it is. But obviously
a little bit interesting here is that so we've actually got earnings tonight.
Yes, we do.
So in that area, they've actually run up into the earnings. So it'll be interesting.
There was someone on I was with today when I was waiting for Skype, which I would not. He was talking about the regional banks are actually really they obviously got a bit of scare with Silicon Bank going down a while ago. They're super well capitalised.
Oh, are they? Okay.
A few of them are. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and who's the other one? Banking New York Mellon's tonight. That kicks off earnings. I mean, we had Pepsi and Delta Airlines early in the week, but no one cares.
But then there was also that bank that got done for
TD Securities trying to do anything.
So that's the 11th largest bank. It's a Canadian bank, but in terms of market cap, it's the 11th in the US.
Got done for money laundering.
$3 billion fine. Not bad.
And HSBC from 10 years ago said, "Hold my beer," basically.
Forget it's the US. It's a large scale.
HSBC got done for laundering money for terrorists about 10 or 15 years ago, and they were like, "We'll just pay the fine." And there was a lot of Swiss bankers going, "Whoa," because they've been doing that for years. They've been doing that for about 50 to 100 years.
Well, that's their industry.
Yeah, mate, exactly. So, but look, commodities and FX.
Okay, so that's me. So commodities and FX. The major thematic was weak early in the week, and then it's recovered. So
So China disappointed the market had a week with the Chinese market shut. The market whipped up this frenzied idea that they were going to fire a stimulus bazooka, and
so they had that meeting on, I believe it was the Tuesday, and then
Monday or Tuesday,
and then they said we're going to support our economy and we want it to grow,
and we're going to hit our economic targets.
But everyone was looking for but where's the actual how much money are you pumping in, and they just there was no mention of that, and the market just sold up. And that's where China fell 10% that day.
Yeah, they brought a pea shooter to a bazooka fight apparently.
So with that, obviously China was weak early on, so that dragged the commodities. So all the commodities fell to their lows probably about Wednesday, and then Wednesday night we had the higher inflation prints, and then they've all recovered. So gold fell as low as 26.05 back to 26.40. Silver got down to maybe just above 30. That's recovered. Crude oil was one though. So that fell early on in the week because there was talks of peace talks.
Peace. Wow.
No, peace talks.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were going to say
peace talks. But then Israel said, "Oh, hang on, October 7th. That's the anniversary. We're going to do something over the next couple of days," and then it went back
Yeah, so Israel speaks the language of missiles.
So crude oil, I believe it's roughly a 10% range for the week. So yeah, quite volatile.
But
there.
I think the extra push is no one seems to give a rat's about the Middle East. It's the reason the oil's rallied is the Gulf's now cut off as well.
Yeah.
So right. that's where now it's like.
So Helene's obviously cut off that supply there.
Well, and then Milton's destroyed.
Oh, yeah,
God knows how many.
Yeah.
That like I've never seen. You know, I think we said on the podcast last week, it was just you and I, JT, when like how extreme the senators and the House representatives were being like with their warnings, and then I'm sitting here listening to Bloomberg because now daylight savings, I get the end of the US markets by the time I get in. There was a US senator and he goes, "If you do not leave your home, you will die." Like, I swear to God, verbatim, and I'm like. But apparently it is the worst hurricane, like not a once in 100-year event that like insurance companies like to jack your policy up with. It is genuinely the worst hurricane in 100 years. So but it's.
So we'll see. I mean, like I've seen there's some time lapse videos where there's street cameras and basically. You know, it's all peace and calm, and then suddenly the water surges through. You're like, what?
I've been through one. I was in America when Hurricane Sandy came, like a long time ago. Well, we were in Norwalk, and it was just like, is that all fine? And then all of a sudden, the hurricane comes, and you just see sparks going because all the cables trickling up. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
How long does it last? Like, does it just?
It's like a good day. Oh, like it comes for a couple of hours, but it's pretty moody for a day.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
One of the best time lapse cameras I saw. So it was over a day. Was a 15 feet rise in the water level from the ocean, and then it went back down again. So it literally went to nearly the top of the street pole, and then all the way back down again, and then. But it was just like everything's normal and everything's there, and then everything was just gone. It's pretty amazing. And then obviously this got to lead into economy and politics.
Hang on, it's not here, but so one thing I did notice in commodities, palladium. I don't know why. It's been strong all week. It's right at 1100. So I normally don't have palladium there, but I still flick through the charts. But it's right near the top end of the range and looks ready to break out. So interesting that we've been waiting for silver to break out. Hasn't been able to do it, but palladium looks ready to go.
Is there any good palladium stocks, or is it?
No, there is not. There is an ETF, and Russia. We bought palladium at previous firm that I worked with that will remain nameless.
Basically, I think Russia has the palladium market.
They're doing sanctions. That'll be why.
Yeah.
But I did see something on social media a couple of weeks ago, basically saying palladium's been massively lagging all the other ones, and I don't now you've mentioned it, but it's sort of not something you really like. You think about, but it's but when it goes. Like, and I think we made. When they invaded Ukraine, Russia produces so much of the palladium that it just went vertical, straight up, and then vertical was straight back down. But yeah, getting on to economy and politics was obviously I did best speech I've ever seen Joe Biden do the other morning, where I think you were here, Clyde.
Yeah,
and he just was like. He just was calling out people on their bullshit on social media about how FEMA money was going to immigrants. Like, they must have got his meds right or whatever, but he was fully lucid. He's just staring down the camera, clearly not an audit cue, and he was just giving it to people in the media and pundits just going, "This isn't true. This isn't true." And he goes, "That senator that said this, that's not true either." It's just like. He was kind of visibly angry, but it was really good because
he's alive.
Oh well, yeah. They hit him with a defibrillator before they went ahead.
So what was he calling out that like?
No, but he was basically because some of the really right wing and left wing media have been sending out all these false messages and all these false stories about like what's actually going. And he's like. And it's actually hindering the recovery in the emergency effort. So people won't speak to FEMA. They're apparently like stoning FEMA cars because they're outraged because they're apparently paying $750 for someone's home and giving them a check, and it's like it's all not true. So it's what are we 4 years in? It's good to see some life out of the old bloke. But that the election's sort of taken a bit of a backseat this week, which is a sigh of relief. Only about 20 odd days to go until this shit show's over.
In betting, Trump's firmed in, so he's at $1.95.
Trump's home. I'm going to call it. I'm calling it. Trump's home, because there's always about a 5% swing at the polls in the Conservative favour. It happened in Brexit, happened with Trump the first time. Nate Silver's called it, and he's been super accurate. Okay. And he's got a great model on their collegiate system, which, for the greatest democracy in the world, is the dumbest electoral system in history, where there is no other system where you can win the popular vote and lose the election. It's just stupid.
So it's all about how many seats. Or how many farms you had back in the day, like that's how many.
Yeah, but they changed the zoning and stuff. It's unnecessarily complicated, but that's so a lot of things, I suppose. But
it is America, and they do call it the United States, but it's actually not. Like each state is its own country. They do their own thing.
They do their own thing. And look, I think in terms of Australian data, it hasn't really been a hell of a lot this week. Obviously, inflation was stronger, but they don't reckon that it'll filter through into the hurricane stuff. Won't filter through into jobs, but they're now expecting job losses to be very extreme. Mm. So, but obviously, it's going to cause inflation as well, because they're going to have to rebuild a lot of stuff. So we should have actually, we've talked about drone shielding. We should have done JLG as well. We'll do a double.
What was the JLG hedge? What's the premise behind that?
So QBE JLG is a pairs trade, but half as much JLG. Yeah. So John's Lynn Group, they've moved into the US in a big way, and there was no catastrophes. And but the analysts, recognised the irony here. The analysts factored in consistent catastrophes, which is literally an anomaly.
That's right. So from memory, they had the business as usual section, and I had to look up what BAU meant. And then they had the contingent or the catastrophe part of their business.
Yeah, but every analyst in the market put the contingent as a recurring income.
Yeah. So and then you said, it's down.
Yeah, and basically the stock got smashed. So that's frightening, and I'm embarrassed for our industry that happened. But basically it still hasn't really recovered. It has bounced quite a bit, but those guys get insurance contracts from some of the biggest insurers in in the US, and it's going to be a lot of work. And they've been very successful here. I think they've got a contract with Tower, which is one of the biggest insurance companies there.
There you go. So I did see that it bounced maybe yesterday, JLG.
But I had a look at it. There's still 40 to 50% upside in this stock, in my opinion. Then look, it was a really uncomfortable thing going on Ausbiz today, and I said 2 disaster buys. And Andrew Gorgin's he did a whole preamble about, the human costs, and I'm just I said, I'm not clipping my heels because we had a hurricane. I'm just saying the economic fallout is going to happen. Maybe by the company that's going to benefit from it. It's not.
I didn't talking about markets.
Yeah, exactly. The only time in 29 years I've ever seen traders just stop and was 9/11. Everyone just stopped. But London bombing, they stopped for roughly about 10 seconds. And then it's now. And then hurricane or the Japan thing was that was one of my busiest days as a trader, I think, ever. But obviously that was a bonus trade of the week, folks. But drone shield, as we talked about before, those big military contracts, I think it's going to, and there's not much to choose from really. Here, there's BIS, which is that biz alloy, which makes the reinforced steels for the ship's hulls. Austal, but I think
Austal, EOS, Coden as well.
Yeah, Space Lasers isn't really there yet though, but it could get up on the back of it. But because they actually haven't got a space laser yet, right? Like it's just in development. So that's one that.
But that's just facts,
Yeah, it's like
it's still a good story.
Yeah, exactly. So facts are just increasingly becoming just worthless. But yeah, so I think there'll be things to come, but I think the election's got to get out of the way, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's if this thing can't go down in a week like this, that means that everyone's must be pretty neutral.
Yeah.
Like. And the tech stocks, they've got so much fat that they don't care.
Or more just bullish, like it's just. Like as I said, like I don't watch the US markets intraday. Obviously I enjoy my sleep, but I just I keep an eye on the SPY, and I'm just like, man, these dips, like they come occasionally. You're like, oh, here we go. This could be the start of something bigger, and no, someone just goes mine.
No follow through.
No drop.
Yeah,
just mine.
The US market sort of, I don't know, it seems the net change at the end of the day lately hasn't been huge, but like VIX keeps just ticking up, so which is really odd, to be honest.
So don't forget, so the VIX is an indication of fear, but it's also a supply and demand indicator for options. So so you're right, it is kind of weird that the markets are ticking higher and VIX is rising. But from a lot of the podcasts I listen to, there's just because of structured products and structured notes and things like that, there's just more options activity now. So interesting. And as I said, we saw a big move in the move index,
which is the bond volatility index.
The bond volatility. We're seeing a rise high in the VIX, but the market just doesn't sell off. So interesting. That people looks like there are more people buying some insurance, but unlike QBE or unlike the hurricane, the disaster hasn't come yet.
Yeah, it seems that disasters everywhere except the S&P and the Nasdaq. Exactly. I honestly can't get over how much has been thrown at this thing this year, and it is just still ticking at records.
It just shakes it off. Yeah.
It does shake it off, which is, as I said, that was one of my proud of AI image generation moments with that one. That I obviously typed in the right phrase. But folks, look, we obviously next week we've got US earnings coming up.
So it's kind of did we do it last week? No, but are you bullish or bearish for next week?
I'm probably bearish actually, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was up. I don't expect the market to pick a direction until November the 5th when the election's over, to be honest. You could set off a nuke somewhere and I still think it'd probably, NVIDIA would go up. I am very agnostic as it stands at the moment. And that's what we've been spending our time pulling together, structured product stuff, to try and fill demand on, fixed income and people who want to take some risk off the table. So I would say I wouldn't say I've had my absolute finger on the pulse in the last week. But what about you, Kai?
I'm similar. I think it's just going to go nowhere. I don't think it's going to really pick a direction. There's just nothing on the board. CPI, hot CPI can't derail it. Nothing can derail it. I'm interested to know what can do. How big does a black swan have to be? Like the freaking ostrich? Is that what you're
I've been quite bullish, and I was on AusBiz. I thought the XJ would make new highs eventually. Didn't quite do it this week, but I think it makes new highs next week. And I think US markets keep tracking higher.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, China, with the materials, because you were flicking through the commodities, China is expected to actually name numbers this weekend on the stimulus.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's Columbus Day in the States. For all the woke viewers out there, it's Discovery Day.
Discovery Day.
Go over yourselves. But so US is off on Monday. But China over the weekend, and there's some manufacturing data from those guys as well as some German manufacturing data. So there's some leading indicators out there.
So Monday Asia could have some fireworks there.
Well, every time every time the US has a holiday, Asia has panics. Hopefully the bank Japan's got a bank holiday too, so they can't even do something and begin to screw things up. So I think it'll be pretty quiet Monday, and then we're hitting into earnings, and there's some United Health, some of the big healthcare names first, and then it might be one of the Mag 7 next week, but we don't really hit our straps in earnings till the following week.
Well, either way, let's see how the banks report. The bank charts look actually quite strong. Like if you look at them, Goldman Sachs looks quite healthy. Obviously, with the S&P record highs, you'd expect the financials to look good as well, and they have. So interesting that they're looking good into earnings. So it'll be interesting to see if they beat by a penny, which is what they. It will
be interesting to see, because it'll have to come out in earnings, who the bank was that tapped that 2.6 bill liquidity. Remember how we a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, it was like some mysterious bank basically had to tap emergency liquidity at the Fed, 2.6 bill, which like the chart was. It was ticking. No one had tapped it for like 4 months.
The fine was $3 bill, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
That could be that.
The Fed's supplying the fine. I don't doubt it, but but it will be that. Yeah, so someone has had to tap emergency funding, so it's going to come out surely.
Yeah, well, it has to come out.
But yeah, so but thanks for listening, folks. Kramer of the week. I don't really know this week. I can't give it to myself because I haven't had an opinion, but I don't think I don't think we've really been. Even Jim's been behaved. I'm actually following him on Twitter now.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to unfollow him because it's screwing with my head, because he is actually right every now and then. So, and I immediately think he's the inverse. I've got to go against it, but yeah, I don't. You know what? We'll give Kramer of the week to the Labor Party for starting that the nuclear Royal Commission or whatever it is, inquiry going on. Basically, it's a lead-in to try and quash Dutton's nuclear policy. Basically, so for political scoring, point scoring, and nuclear will happen in this country. I mean, that's kind of more idiot of the week rather than Kramer of the week. That's Australian politics for you. But but everyone stay safe out there in markets, and obviously keep an eye on Newswise over the weekend for the China stuff and more rockets and more hurricanes, because apparently this is social media, so I don't know. There could be a third less severe hurricane that forms because of this. Because of Milton, so
okay. Because they're coming through.
No, but it was way too complicated. I'm not a meteorologist, so being in markets is way more precise than being a meteorologist. Exactly. I've got to have at least 50%, win rate. They're like, they don't have to have any. They're like economists. But we'll chat next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.